So I've been fasting since 2 a.m. And I don't have a particular plan as far as if it's just going to be dry fasting, if I'm going to allow liquids. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow. At most, I don't foresee myself needing more than 24 ounces of um, water, basically. And I make a calcium water using distilled water and calcium carbonate. And so that's like a natural alkaline water that I make, and I use that to make all of my herbal teas. So I do plan on making a big batch of herbal tea that'll last me up until the the end of January 10th. Um, so I'm gonna have that just on reserve. But for the most part, what I consume and just where my body's at from fasting, and that's why I love fasting so much, is when you've done it, and it all depends on your body, but considering how much I've fasted in the last year alone, and not to mention the years leading up to it, just when I was even intermittent fasting, I, and when I mean intermittent fasting, I mean, like I had a 4 to 6 hour window where I would eat and drink, and then the remaining hours of the day I fasted and wouldn't consume anything that had calories. That was when I was intermittent fasting. That was like a calorie um, kind. I had the focus of like, when am I going to consume calories? So I still drank and stuff during the time that I wasn't eating. But then in 2017, I was abstaining from food and basically water a majority of the time on the days that I wasn't dry fasting, and then the days I was dry fasting, absolutely nothing. But anyways, my point is that when you clean your body up on that level, that your cells become so much um, more receptive to becoming hydrated, and it doesn't always have to be from stuff that you're directly consuming. You can, I mean, we are also taking stuff in from our atmosphere as well. And so, but yeah, the a lot of us on a deep cellular level are dehydrated as fuck. Um, if you're consuming caffeine, if you're consuming salt, if you're consuming alcohol, if you're consuming all these things that either act as diuretics
Or even having things that are toxic to your body, and especially if your kidneys aren't filtering as optimally as they are designed to, then yeah, on a cellular level, not doing so good. And so, what a lot of us don't realize is that when things are functioning pretty well, or like most optimally, and we shouldn't need to supplement with water. We should be consuming things that are high enough with, like fruits and vegetables with high water content. I mean, that water is the most bioavailable to your cells, not some processed, filtered shit. I mean, half of the bottled water is out there, and even if you have a fancy machine, like, that's not natural. It's not natural. You'd be surprised, maybe. I don't know how many of you have actually ever looked into this, but some of you would actually probably be surprised to know that a lot of these bottled waters are just tap water that have gone through some type of filtration, whether it's a fancy type of filtration or not. It could be reverse osmosis, steam distillation, and then again, there's these alkalizing machines and all, and what have you. And still, in the grand scheme, it's like these are machines or whatever processes that a human brain thought of, and and then said, this is what we have to do to get pure water. And I'm not saying go and drink some dirty ass water and go drink out of the tap that has all this crap. I mean, pick your poison, but fruits and vegetables. fruits and vegetables, taking vacation from food, whether you do like a liquid fast or you abstain from nutrients altogether. I mean, there are levels to this for most people, and that's especially because there is a mental component, and that's what a lot of people forget when they're doing all these diets and detoxes and everything. Is it's beyond, it's more than just physical. We are more than just physical beings, so to leave the mental piece out of it and the spiritual piece out of it, that's why we run into these plateaus, or something works for a certain amount of time and then it stops working. And we're all at different levels, physically, mentally, spiritually. And, but that's something that I always recommend people be mindful of. But when we're dehydrated as fuck and we're even, craving liquids and things like that, then you need to clean your shit up. Physically, mentally, spiritually. You need to heal your gut, whether that's letting it rest completely so that all of your energy can be focused on healing everything that needs healing. Because like I've said a billion times, digestion uses so much fucking energy. And so it's just adding insult to injury to just keep having stuff going through it without giving it a rest and letting your body's innate wisdom do what it needs to do, instead of just giving it work all the time. Like, think of daily life anyway, and just take a look at the environment and how things rest. And so aside from just sleeping at night and giving yourself however much you sleep, a chance to rejuvenate and everything like that, we can give our digestive tract way more time. And back in the day, things weren't as convenient as they are now, as far as, having restaurants that are open 24 hours or what have you, and so you can always eat and whatever, or go into the grocery store and all this shit. I mean, I talk about this, or I've talked about this a lot more, like, one-on-one with people, but you think our bodies can adapt at the rate that our food supply is changing?
They're always changing these formulations, and they're always coming out with new methods of processing things, preparing things, whatever. But it's like, you think our body's digestive tract is always upgrading itself, or whatever you want to call this, like, at the rate that technology advances and things like that. I mean, this type of stuff, it takes time.
So for a lot of you who have followed me for some time now, and even if you've been following more recently, if you've picked up on this, you could say I'm antiquated in my approach. I'm old school. I'm, extreme, alternative, whatever you want to label it as. But I like things that have withstood the test of time as we know it, and time is also a man-made concept. And, but I'm talking like from what we've been able to measure, what man has, come up with this system of measurement, time, and so there are things that have been around for 5,000 years and whatnot, and they're still here, and people are still using them and still swearing by them. And I'm much more apt to turn to that for healing than something that's only been around for 100 years. I mean, in my humble opinion, there's just something to be said for stuff that's still around now, because we even see in the pharmaceutical world these things getting recalled and things getting reformulated and all this stuff, and I'm still, in my mind, just like, okay, who was that tested on? How many people was it tested on? What were the lives of those people like? Where were they at individually on a mental, physical, spiritual level? What is their environment like? What are these variables that have been accounted for in the testing aspect of everything. And then who came up with this system of creating these things? What science has been applied? What do these people have to gain or lose if people use this or don't?
And the questions I have are, what does the supplier have to gain and lose, and what does the consumer have to gain and lose? And I'm still always going to prefer, personally, things that are accessible to all and therefore also free. So money shouldn't even be an issue. Money also a man-made thing. And again, I am so I
so happy for any and everyone who feels like who's content with their present quality of life. And we all have a different way that we're measuring that. And it's up to you if you think that the bar could be raised and if you want to raise that bar, if you want to pay that price. And I'm, again, not even talking about paying the price with money. I'm talking about with effort, discipline, and that's not just in what you're physically doing, but just the way that you think about things. Like, are you willing to unlearn some?
Are you willing to unlearn some things? Are you willing to question what you think you know? Are you willing to acquire new knowledge and apply it? Are you willing to, yeah, I mean, only you know what you're willing to do, and that's what I mean by paying the price for things. Um, are you willing to take more responsibility for cause and effect in your personal life? Um, so anyways, thanks for listening up until this point. I'm going to go and do yoga. I'm still doing yoga every damn day. Still meditating every damn day in one way, shape, or form. And I wanted to, as always, well, I don't always do this, but disclaimer. Everything I share is from personal experience, and it's what has and hasn't, related to what has and hasn't enhanced my quality of life. So if things don't resonate with you, by all means, it's not the one and only way to approach being. I'm not claiming any of that. But I wish that I'd had some of these tools earlier on, and so that's why I'm trying to share them here. For anyone who's already searching, wants to start searching, wants to is on the verge of giving up searching. You know, there's so many systems out there that even if they temporarily work, like why not? So many of us are okay with these band-aid methods anyway. Why not try something that's natural and free? And the thing is too is that I think one of the greatest strengths of being a Homo sapien is adaptability. And I think that it's something that I personally like to focus on conditioning myself in, because though there's so much I can't control that's changing around me, and I want to adapt to that as quickly as possible and avoid as much suffering by my definition as I can. And the only suffering I ever personally experience is when I become attached to what it could be, a belief system, it could be a person, place, or thing. And when I become attached to it, then that means I'm going to be resistant if it changes from like a, you know, this like fixed way that I view it and want it to be and what have you. And so yeah, going with the flow is what I'm all about, and that's basically being adaptable. And so, for example, even with fasting I did last year where I didn't eat for half the year, you know, if there's this frickin' if we go into any type of situation where people can't get their hands on food and water, I'm not going to freak out and cause even more stress to my body and therefore not survive and thrive as a consequence. Because stress is a fucking killer, people. It is a fucking killer. So aside from like mental stress, physical stress, what have you, that was, you know, one of many reasons why I started fasting anyway. Like I'm someone, I think very deeply. I think from so many objective perspectives. Like I like to cover as many bases as possible with the way that I view things and the way that I approach things. And and so yeah, like I'm not worried if no matter what's going on around me, I'm not afraid. Like all of these things that I do, all these things I do help me to fear less. And to me, fear is false evidence appearing real. And that evidence could be in the form of a thought that just comes up, or it could be something that I'm actually like in the moment perceiving with my very own eyes, like in a physical form. Um, yeah, I prefer to face everything in my eyes. And so all the stuff that I share here are the things that I implement to face everything and rise. So, this is what I keep my calcium water in. You can see the calcium carbonate sitting on the bottom, and every time I pour more distilled water into the top, it stirs it all up, and then after 24 hours, it settles. So, this is what I use to make my herbal tea, as you can see. Alrighty then. So, name that tune. Anyways, so here are the mushrooms I forgot to share last night. I forgot I had them. What I'm going to do is zucchini noodles, with a raw tomato sauce and mushrooms. I have 2 hearts of romaine in the fridge, which I'm going to use as kind of like taco shells, and I may stuff them with some of the sauce and mushrooms and maybe the zucchini. Or I may just have it by itself, or I may combine it with these cucumbers and some onion. But I'm going to chop all this stuff up, add a little raw apple cider vinegar to it to help make it the texture that I love. Yeah. Bringing it to a boil now. But yeah, so I said I was going to go at least 20 hours fasting, so I'm not breaking my fast until 8 p.m. So I got about 6 hours to go, and then that's when I'll start having everything. But I'm going to have the zucchini, mushrooms, and tomato sauce last. That is the plan, and I'm sticking to it. So these are just a couple of the seasonings for now that I've just kind of dished out that are going to go with the sauce, the tomato sauce later. There's chili powder, cumin, however you want to pronounce it, garlic powder, and cayenne pepper. And then I'm going to use oregano and thyme to marinate the mushrooms with that, and some apple cider vinegar and a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. So I may adjust this when I make the sauce, which I am going to hold off on that part because it can get super watery when you make raw sauces, and you know I don't have any starch or anything in it that's gonna, I won't be using any starch that would prevent it from getting super watery and having that natural separation. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna add the zoodles to this as well too, and let those all marinade. So that will kind of, I guess, have that hint of Italian flavor in it. And then when I make tomato sauces, I don't know. I always use those ingredients that I mentioned, which can seem a little odd. It's kind of like a Mexican or Latin fusion with Italian. So, anyways, yeah, it's what I love. I don't follow any specific recipes. I just combine things that I like. It's all really to my liking, my preference, my taste. So the noodles are all prepped. Gonna let these marinate with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and coconut aminos and obviously the red onion. So that's going to tenderize between now and when I eat it. So far, this is what the mushrooms look like. They smell amazing. I wish you were here for that. And I'm getting ready to just prepping the zucchini. I had to clean them first, so I just soak them in vinegar and water. And yeah, I'm gonna peel those. I'm using a peeler, as you've noticed, instead of my spiralizer. I used to always spiralize everything, but I really like the texture a lot more actually when it's kind of like a linguine style, just by using a good old-fashioned peeler. So it takes a little bit more time. So yeah, anyways, it can take a lot of time, and some people don't enjoy that. I personally enjoy all aspects of food prep and consumption. I'm in it for the visuals, I'm in it for the smells, I'm in it for like the flavor, like the taste and the texture of it. So it's like I'm very interactive with my food on basically as many levels as I can get to with it. And but so that's just me. I'm preferring using this peeler than a spiralizer for all of these reasons that I mentioned. But yeah, a spiralizer can speed up the process if you either don't want to make the time to prep your food, or obviously if you prefer that texture and that visual of the spiraled noodles, whatever. So yeah, I'm just showing you options. Some people even use like julienne peelers to get a noodle that's similar to a spiralized one in every way except for the spiral part. But yeah, they're kind of matchstick-esque, so to speak.
Straight up. Look, I live the life I deserve. Bless. Fuck a vacation.
So I forgot to share like a final picture of this, and that's why you see some random ass tomato seeds on there, because I just ate the tomatoes off with the sauce. And yeah, I dipped tomatoes in tomato sauce. And anyways, I'm gonna dump all this back into here where I have all the sauce. And I can't even wait for it. Oh, is that a piece of the tomato? Yeah. Yum.
If I asked you to trust me on all things, could you?
So if you've prepared raw vegan food, you can disregard this message, but look at what happens to the mushrooms when you yeah, marinate it with an acid. It breaks down in a similar way to when you're cooking it. So, and yeah, that's also why usually there's like some liquid at the bottom. But yeah, I've been eating since 8 o'clock, or grazing, I should say. But yeah, this is no joke, and I am hydrated as fuck.